Hi guys, welcome to the next episode of my series. Today I'd like to talk about performance. The thing that's overlooked a lot when people start recording something is themselves, their performance, their arrangement. We as engineers sometimes call it the source. Let's just talk about a few examples. I often come across people who don't change the strings on their guitars very often, and of course it saves them money. If you leave the strings on your guitar for a long time, they will start to corrode. They will lose the higher part of the harmonics. When guitar strings lose the higher harmonics, they can even sound out of tune. The same thing applies to drums. Drums need to be tuned. You sometimes need to change the heads. Sometimes you want a ring on the snare. Sometimes you don't want a ring on the snare, or the toms. It's a similar thing. If you really think about it, if your band is playing a song in E and you have a long, loud snare ring, an E flat, going throughout the song, there's going to be something that doesn't quite sound right. If that's what you're going for, if that's what you want, everything has its place. But think about this stuff. It's all about respect for each other within your band. As a good engineer, you must be able to listen to the whole piece. Don't just listen to the part that you're playing. You have to be able to listen to everybody else. You will start to hear what other people do, how it works with sometimes we have bands coming into the studio and they've been playing together for years. And only when they come into the studio suddenly they start saying to each other, "Oh, is that what you played? Oh, I didn't know you played that chord. Oh, I didn't know you played that note." So listen to each other when you play. The same thing applies for vocals. Yes, vocals are a proper instrument too. But it's not only the pitch. I once recorded a song where I was covering somebody else. After some time I realized that my breathing wasn't loud enough. Now, it's one of those things where you think, how can breathing make a difference? But it actually played a big part in this particular song. The breathing made the sound. Another example, of course, Frank Sinatra was known for making his breathing invisible, so you couldn't really hear it. That was part of his style. It was part of the way that he performed. Think about breathing. Think about when you breathe. Think about whether you want the breathing to be heard or not. These people think about this stuff more than you know. Out of tune, screamed vocals have their place. If you play in a punk band, or if you have a certain sound, a rock band or something, they have their place. But remember, there's no such thing as fixing in the mix. Fixing in the mix is an illusion. That's why we talk about all this stuff now. Before we get into recording, before we start learning about how to use microphones, how to use a recording setup, how to use all these wonderful things that you use as an engineer, we have to get the performance right, and we have to know what the things are that we cannot fix afterwards. A fix in the mix is always going to be a repair, so remember this. Okay, and of course we're talking about arrangement. The bass normally should play lower than a violin or a guitar. Seems obvious, but it needs to be said. A violin is designed to project higher notes because it's smaller, makes it vibrate easier at higher frequencies. That a bass is built to project lower notes, it's bigger, and because of the longer wavelength, it needs to have a bigger case, and the longer strings, it's able to project bass better, and therefore it sounds better on the bass. Of course there are exceptions, but these are all things to consider. Who's playing what? Listen to your bandmates, listen to your own performance, think about what you want, think about where you breathe. Do you want to be in tune? What style of music? There are lots of people who just come up with stuff and think, oh yeah, this is original. Yeah, right. But there's a distinct difference between being original and a bad performance. Thanks for watching.